on the road again, headed to our next stop, the province of Las Tunas, where life is slow. Just ask this man, a hat maker, who sells his goods by the side of the highway in a tiny town called El Yunque, some 18 miles from the province capital. Demendo is his name. This 35-year-old says his father and grandfather made hats. It's a tradition here. First, you carefully knit the straps, then you sew it all up. Takes about half an hour to make. It's enough to get by. Whatever way you look at it, you have to get by. We drive into town. Sun is out, but menacing clouds await our arrival. We see some people walking the streets, others sitting on benches, thinking, and maybe even watching those storm clouds roll in. But this changes everything. We, along with the folks at the park, take refuge. Some barely take cover. So when the rain moves on, Las Tunas becomes a ghost town. And we move on. On our way out, we pass this yellow truck and realize people are inside. You'll find them throughout the island. Just one way Cubans get around. Most of them have been altered, so passengers can get on and off. In every town you'll find this, a transportation hub, a terminal is what they call it. Here you'll see different options for folks trying to get around. Horse-drawn carriages are still an option. A good number of people ride their bikes. The state does run official bus lines. Then there are people's cars.
Trabajadores por cuenta propia del transporte.
This driver reminds us it's a privately run business, boteros as they're called. He and his colleagues don't want to say much more, but they're there to make money. And so are these guys, trying to sell snacks or drinks to passengers who are getting ready to leave, or those just arriving. You can see Cubans have to be resourceful every day in how they get around. We head to the province of Camagüey, where right away as we get into town, we run into a bit of a challenge. Out of all the towns we visited, Camagüey seems to be one of the toughest to get around. Even when we ask residents, they struggle to give us directions. That's unless you're this guy, red shirt, shorts, on his bike, who minutes earlier approached our van and offered to get us to our destination. Feeling lost, we agreed, hoping he would take us to the place we're staying. We drove and drove. We finally get there. He introduces us to this guy who is supposed to be our contact. He even identifies himself as Odelto, the man we're looking for. Our producer Michelle quickly discovers this is all a setup, and this is not the man we're looking for, but someone posing as him to get the business. He explains this is his job. He guides tourists into town, whether it's a hotel or a restaurant. Likely, he had an agreement with the owner of this home. A job, he says, that's legal and helps you make ends meet on a daily basis. He explains how it works. He waits for cars he knows are carrying tourists. They always tip you, he says. They always pay you. $20 to $25 a month is the average he says he makes doing this. A pair of pants costs the same, he says, reminding us it's not enough, but it's enough to buy food. The next morning, we head into town. Aside from its clay jars and busy boulevards, Camagüey is known for its churches. We counted 7 in the center of town. They're everywhere, and we were lucky to be there on a Sunday. Father Jose Grau welcomed us to Mass at his church, La Iglesia de la Soledad, where he's been a priest 14 years. When the city was founded, the churches were concentrated all within a third of a mile. Camagüey is truly an example of the role Catholicism has played and continues to play on the island.
Las personas tenían cierto temor de manifestar su religiosidad.
For many years, he says, people here in Cuba feared showing their religious faith, but that fear no longer exists. No way you can talk about religious changes on the island without talking about the 3 papal visits in 17 years. Pope John Paul II in 1998, Pope Benedict XVI in 2012, and earlier this year, that of Pope Francis. These 3 papal visits are inviting Cubans to something they have to build. Words from a man who has been a Catholic priest 45 years. He thinks of the circumstances and experiences surrounding him at the time when he became a priest, early 1960s, the peak of the revolution, when the church became a target of the Castros. He never thought he would see this day. Next stop, Ciego de Ávila, a primarily agricultural province, where cattle roam the ranches and crops crowd the landscape. They say it's some of the most fertile land in Cuba. It's our halfway point on our journey. In the town square, the faces are young. The music, reggaeton of course, draws us to this nondescript corner. There's a line, so you wonder what people are buying. Vismay Delis Gibert shows us his universal charger. It's one of his many tools and a profession sparked by the cell phone. Here, he's welding an antenna. Gibert says they learned little by little 6 years later, and he's still doing it. At La Clínica del Celular, a cell phone clinic, they can bring your phone back to life. When business is good, Gibert takes home $200 to $300 a month. He shows us how he's stringing along wires so thin you can barely see them on camera. It's microscopic, he says. What's not microscopic are the prices. But there's always a line, and yet another happy and satisfied customer. Next, the historic town of Trinidad and the big business of Casa Particulares. Then, a retiree shows us how she struggles to live day by day. And still ahead, a stop in Benny's town, the city of Cienfuegos.